We are excited to get into a hefty Star Wars book tonight. I mean, I've been reading this thing for like 6 weeks. And even today, I still had to listen to the audiobook for like another hour and a half. And we've got some great Star Wars to talk about tonight. Wow, do we ever? We're going to cram 550 pages of conversation into about 45 minutes ish. We'll see. Who knows? It can get out of hand. But hey, before we get into the book tonight, we do need to start off on a bit of a somber note here, because after all, yeah, we're talking about galaxy far, far away, but over the years, what we've found is most valuable in all this are the community that we built up around our Legends fandom. One such member of the community, an absolute pillar of the community, Catherine Winchell, the co-director of Legends Con, who Freddie and I, you and I both had the chance to meet recently, was in a very serious car collision last weekend. Was severely injured, and the last update that I received is that she's been through some procedures and is in good health, good spirits. And so grateful to hear that. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Catherine for all of her friends and family during this difficult time. Freddie, Catherine was just absolutely lovely to us, wasn't she? Freddie's muted. Freddie, you're muted. No!
Oh, it's the mute again, isn't it? Yes, Catherine was absolutely. You hit the nail on the head when you said a pillar of light in our community. Without
she is a
Catherine,
pillar of light. She was lovely to us. Past tense. Yeah.
she is, yes, of course, was lovely to us. Good person, all around, passionate about Legends as much as we are. Talking to Catherine felt like, how do I describe this? Like a friend, right? A friend who knew exactly what we knew. We could talk about the controversies without even really any introduction to each other. It was as quick as that.
She got
Um,
all of our inside jokes with us having only known us for a half hour. Which is
yeah,
spectacular.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean,
So
her
yeah.
resume in Legends fandom could go on for almost as long as Vision of the Future. I mean, we would need even more than 650 pages to even crack it. You want to just scratch the surface here on some of the amazing things that she's done in the community?
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see here. So Catherine not only helped with Legends Con, but let's see. In her work in her private life, she's a member of the Planetary Society, founded by famed astronomer Carl Sagan, and she served as camera operator for the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers on Mars for NASA for several years. She was a member of the fencing team at her university and later continued that passion as a member of the Saber Guild. So careful trying to
Yeah,
duel
don't cross her.
Catherine.
That's right.
Exactly. She's also a member of the 501st Legion, the Dark Empire, and the Pride Squadron, for which she advocates for the respect for minority groups within the Star Wars community. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a lot. That is a lot.
that's a lot of that's a lot. That's absolutely a lot, and we hope for speedy recovery.
That's
We are
right.
very glad that you are here with us still on this plane of existence.
That's right. And we hope to be able to mix and mingle with you at the next Legends Con. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Catherine. We like to joke around at the top of the show, but today we want to stop and thank her for her contributions to the fandom, for being such a lovely friend to us. Rick, you haven't got the chance to meet her, but would you care to say anything?
Yeah, just from hearing you guys talk, it sounds like she's a wonderful person and has done a lot of great things for the Star Wars community. So I'm thankful to her, and I hope that she recovers quickly. She's definitely in our thoughts and prayers.
I don't know if there's anybody in the Star Wars community that I owe like more personally than Catherine, for the fact that we arranging schedules was difficult, and we had accidentally lost the podcast that we interviewed her on.
Oh yeah.
Which was painful to have to tell her. And maybe we'll find it one of these days. We'll see. It could be. It might like the Comus document from Vision of the Future. We have to break into somebody's secret storage facility in order to find this thing. Nevertheless, even though we had done something pretty egregiously horrible, she just treated us with so much dignity and grace, and hooked us up with interviews with some of the absolute pillars of the fandom. Matthew Stover and Mike Stackpole and Randy Stradley. She cleared like Moses parting the Red Sea, got us those interviews, which was awesome. So, Catherine, we wish you well. And we've got a GoFundMe link in the description here on YouTube, and we're going to try to also post that on the podcast. If you're listening on audio, hopefully that's in the notes there as well. If you can support her in any way that you can, we as a podcast are personally going to be making a contribution as well. So, Rick, without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Lookback, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people whose idea of a wild weekend is rearranging your bookshelves nice and meticulously, where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined tonight by the wonderful, the duo. See if you can do two at once here, Rick. Freddie C. and Rick Grace. How are you guys tonight?
Doing great. Now, my question is, how do you organize your bookshelf?
Oh,
I organize it by what fits on the shelf.
What about you, Rick? Are you author, last name, title?
I don't want to talk about it because since I've moved, I have no organization system. Like I don't
look
have
too
any
carefully behind him. It's chaos.
like behind me is I don't have many books actually on the shelf. I've got some comics and some collectible books, but most of my books are in my office at the church building, and there's no order. And like people who come, like most of them don't know anything about Star Wars books at all. Some of them don't know about Star Wars. That's a different conversation. But like, there's only a couple who actually know. And I had one guy who was like, "Are these in an order of any kind?" I'm like, "Nope, we're not talking about it." Shh.
Back it up. Back it up. Rick,
Yeah.
do you have a copy of the book Dark Disciple in your church office?
Actually, no. That my
Okay.
canon books are on a shelf here. All my legend stuff is at the church. So,
Well, Rick, I think it's time for you to get rid of that old order and come in with a new order.
hey,
See what you did there. Well, the only correct order, of course, is timeline order as according to the timeline on a little website called utini.com. I keep them in timeline order, Freddie. I've got Legends paperbacks over here behind me. The trouble is they pretty much all fit on one shelf, but not quite. So I have also an extra row on top of the bookcase.
I see.
And then another row over the window.
Oh, boy.
Then I've got all the canon hardcovers on a single shelf, which we're really close to busting out of one single bookshelf for canon hardcovers, which is exciting. Then I've got my Omnibuy, hardcover Omnibuy, take a whole shelf now, which is exciting.
That's like my Teresa Bakura's whole shelf.
A whole shelf over the window?
Mantle of the fireplace.
What about from the window to the walls? You have them on the walls? Anyway.
Bakura. Yeah, we'll stop there.
And I've got Legends hardcovers over there on a shelf, which I'm about 5 away from filling it up. So
Nice.
I just am now buying books, except for I bought 2 today. Anyway, so yeah, that is a wild time, a good time. I even did something very fun recently. Dusted the shelves.
Ooh.
Need to do that.
Well, here's the trouble. It doesn't last very long.
That's true.
It
You a couple of mouse droids in your house to dust, clean up in there.
Get them to work, man.
The cat, she takes out those mouse droids. Just
That makes
they
sense.
don't last long around here.
Have to get a dog droid.
Oh, I've got a dog. He's chewed up a lot of things. We try to keep him where he's not allowed up here. He got up here one time and he was like, so many little plastic things to chew on. Nope, you get back down there. But guys, we're gonna have to cut the crap because there's a lot of Star Wars book to talk about tonight.
It's true.
We are talking about Vision of the Future by Timothy Zahn, or as I've got him here in the notes, our boy Timmy Z. Yeah,
Timmy Z.
He wrote what is an absolute doorstopper of a Legends book.
Yes.
This is the kind of Legends book that's thick enough, or like you could stick it behind your tires when you need to change the oil, and that car ain't going anywhere.
I've seen them use that. Actually, I was where was I? I was at the airport. They put it right behind the landing gear to stop the plane.
On a
Oh,
Boeing.
boy. I hear
So-
that the Hoover Dam, whenever it has to have maintenance,
yeah.
they also just stick a few copies.
Well, I had to stick it where? Anyway, I had to Google this today to find out exactly what is the longest Star Wars book ever written. The hardcover of this is 528 pages. The paperback is 694 pages.
Yeah.
If this was a VHS, you'd know it would have 2 tapes.
Yes.
We have 2 boxes, Rick. We would have 2 boxes. Yeah, Braveheart ain't got nothing on this.
Yeah, I had to. So I started reading the book after we read the last book, and it took me about till yesterday to get about a little bit more than halfway, and I was like, okay, I think I need to do the audiobook at 3 times speed now.
Yeah.
Mara Jade, his voice for her, when her teeth are clattering, when they're stuck in the tunnel, that sped up is pure chaos energy.
Oh man, the whole book is chaos when it comes
It's-
to the Quom Jaw and
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
What's the president? Gavrazam? He
Oh,
makes this like braying
Gah.
noise. He's like,
Well, he's like yeah.
it's awful.
Oh, Legends is great, man.
yes.
There's another weird character that makes a noise in this. Who is it?
Well, see that's the thing is, Rick, that's totally Mark Thompson and the producers, right?
You know, he just has fun with it.
No, but the fact that they actually made a character that's like a donkey as Chancellor, or the fact that we're gonna have little dragon guys that are semi-sentient and well, they are sentient, but can communicate through the Force.
Yes.
Like that's so Legendsy,
yeah.
It's very Timothy Zahn, is what it is.
Pterodactyls
That
is what I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Did you see according to the book, the working title of this before it was labeled Vision of the Future was Timmy Z Unchained. Because
Hot chocolate.
Yeah, there's a point at the end of the book they all celebrate by drinking hot chocolate, and they're like, "Man, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's just really good, y'all." And
Yeah.
for real, happens in a Legends book. That was the end of the Bantam era. This was a real turning point in the Star Wars Legends continuity because, of course, this was the end of an era. This was the end of the Bantam era, the end of the 90s, transitioning into, right after this, the license switched from Bantam to Del Rey.
Yeah.
The authors all notoriously met together at a Chinese restaurant and planned the new Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's
And,
interesting because this is really the it for Thrawn until canon, is that right?
Well, I mean, we get Outbound Flight,
True.
which goes
okay.
back in time.
Yeah, that's right. Outbound Flight.
And Survivor's Quest, that duo, now available as part of the Essential Legends collection in a bookstore near you. Coming soon to audio, which I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
We got a great comment here from Skooma in the chat. The character we're talking about, Gavrazam, colloquially known among the fandom as Chancellor Big Bird, which I'm never going to not think of that.
That's it.
That's so good.
Fantastic. So this book was published in 1998. As we said, at the end of the era, I joked about the title. It was originally known as The Hand of Thrawn, and then Mr. Zahn was taking so long to write the book, they split it up into 2 books, which it should have been a trilogy.
Yep.
Should have been. There's no way that's correct.
It should have been.
It's Southern. Just go with it.
It's like my favorite Southernism. Used to could.
Used to kid, yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, you used to could ride in the back of the car up in the window on road trips.
Used to could.
Yeah, I mean, I follow with that.
I use that legitimately every single day. And Freddie, as a lover of art, much like Grand Admiral Thrawn himself, according to legend, and I may not be 100% sure on this, I pulled this out of my brain and stuck it in the notes. So fact check me, please, listeners. I believe this was the last Star Wars book. The last Star Wars book designed by, with the cover designed by none other than Drew Struzan. Freddie, elaborate on what we love about Drew Struzan's art here and evaluate this book cover in particular, because it's a doozy.
Okay. Sounds good. So let's talk about Drew Struzan first. Drew Struzan. I don't have his full again, I don't know what its disc choreography or
Repertoire.
his repertoire in
I mean,
front
he's
of me.
done a ton of movie covers.
It's done
movie
tons of
posters.
movie covers. Yeah, exactly. Tons of movie covers. Almost all of the Star Wars books in the 90s, I would say, and they're truly unique. I would almost say that the books that came out later on, especially during the Clone Wars, I feel like they tried to do the same thing as Drew
The
Struzan, but
floating heads, but it was a
yeah,
ripoff. Yeah.
completely missed the mark because Drew Struzan's art is so classic. In my opinion, I call it like classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
Very swashbuckly, in action, right? There's always a head in the drawing somewhere with somebody doing some sort of action, like in this
Sure.
case, Mara Jade holding the lightsaber, and then hints of what you're about to read about throughout the art piece. That when you look at the cover for the first time, I don't know who this is. Oh, interesting eyes, right? Very,
All right.
very
It's
unique.
official.
So,
We're gonna have to do it, Freddie. We're gonna do a Drew Struzan spectacular here on the on the podcast one of these days. I,
yeah,
in fact, have reached out to him. I would like to get him on the show.
that'd
So
be awesome.
that would be cool. He is retired from doing art, but is he retired from talking about art? We're gonna find out.
Can we get him to do a Legends look back cover art?
Okay, now you're spitballing. You're really getting out there now. Now let's talk about this cover a little bit. There's a lot I love about it, and there's a lot that I'm like, I love it for different reasons. One, Thrawn's friggin' face in the background,
Oh yeah.
staring into the
Yes.
camera. Look at those red eyes, y'all.
Mm,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Hold
Now
on,
here's
there-
another good one.
there it is.
Why don't you, instead of making me zoom in on this, but show them the cover, Rick. I believe we've got this in the images.
Yeah, that would be smart to do.
What else is great about this
Oh.
cover, in your opinion, Freddie? What about Mara Jade looking like she's ready for the prom in 1988?
Loving the poofy hair for sure. She's a Jedi in this book to me, right? This is her. In my
Yeah.
opinion, this is like the last. We'll get to it.
There we go.
Bet shortly, but this is her in her what seems like her Jedi garb almost, right? I guess it's very action oriented. Holding a lightsaber in the old style of lightsaber, very classic.
Oh, two hands. That's right.
I
And then of
feel
course that long pistol that Luke is holding, very interesting weapon for.
This one long pistol. That's a core and horn pistol right there.
that's a breaker wrench with a handle.
What you got, Rick? What do you think?
I think Mara Jade looks like a leprechaun, and I'm sorry for our Irish friends.
Mara's appearance has been controversial over the years. In fact, we talked about this with Catherine. She does a Mara cosplay, and we joked about the sleeves. Mara with or without sleeves. Most of the time, she's depicted in a jumpsuit that's sleeveless, even though she's always described as having a holdout blaster under her sleeve.
Yeah.
And so in this, at least she's got sleeves, though it's all green head to toe. It's a good thing Corin Horn didn't see this woman, because he
Ooh.
loves him.
You're not
some green.
human.
Well, he did see her on at Skywalker's Academy, right?
Oh yeah, but Corin was.
Jedi.
That's
man.
next month. That's next month
Okay,
when we do
alright.
iJedi.
We'll get
Yeah, when
there.
the two of them defeat Exar Kun's ghost.
Yeah.
That is pretty rad.
I love how Mara calls out, and we'll talk more about it. But she calls Luke out for everything he's done. That we've always been like, "Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, no, she does.
Mhm.
She's no nonsense, and yet she kind of falls for the. All right, we'll get to it. It's a great cover. I
For the
love the red
Hot
eyes in the background. Love the
I don't
Thrawn.
love Han's perm. That's a bit much.
He just got busy hacking for like a week, man. You got to give him a break.
Yeah.
What I love about Han's face in this is the face that I make at my family every single day. Like when I walk through the door at the end of the day, and my kids are like playing pet shop with rocks that they've glued pom poms to. That's the face that I make when I come home from work.
What's the face? There it is.
Yeah. So
Oh.
let's get to it. This is a great book. It's a great book.
Hefty.
And let me just say this. I did my best on the summary because this book is 550 pages, okay? And I had to put it into like 4 or 5 paragraphs. And I had just finished the book, my reread today. So, the Empire is resurgent under... Wait! timeout. Was the warning klaxon. This is your spoiler alert, your last warning. If you have not yet read Vision of the Future, we'll see you in 6 years when you finish reading it.
Sorry, I was like half Wookiee, half klaxon.
I thought it was like Grover
little
having a
Yoda.
seizure.
Grover.
I say Yoder.
Yoder.
Yeah.
That's what we call him. That's redneck Yoda. Yoder.
Where's that Jedi Master Yoder? He around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Wish I could have, should have, could
Well,
have.
baby Yoder, he's down frog again. All right. Roll the tape again. The Empire is resurgent under the leadership of Moff Dizra, former Red Guard Major Tierce, and extra extraordinaire Flynn. Flim? Yeah, I think autocorrect got me here. Phlegm. Yeah.
That's seriously what I thought the first time I heard him. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned this last time, but like I was like, Phlegm? What was that? Because I was listening, and I had to like seriously go back and listen to it again.
All right, roll it from the top. Take 3. The Empire is resurgent under the leadership of Moff Dizra, former Red Guard Major Tierce, and actor extraordinaire Flim, pretending to be none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn. They sabotage the New Republic by leaking details of a genocide on Kamas at the hands of the Bothans, who were complicit in the Empire's atrocities against their people. Investigating and opposing their conspicuous rise to power is the GOAT of legends, Admiral Pelion. Popcorn to Rick. You're up next.
Cool. Which I will say, Admiral Pelion is the GOAT. He's pretty sweet. The only thing standing in their way, rumors of the supposed Hand of Thrawn. Tierce remembers the real Thrawn mentioned the Hand of Thrawn as the key to the Emperor's or the Empire's ultimate and total victory. Tierce has never found any reference to the term in any Imperial record. What exactly is it? A super weapon or some piece of vital information? Is it a person? Someone akin to Mara Jade's Hand of the Empire, perhaps?
Okay. Freddie, you can go next.
All right. Speaking of Mara Jade, she and Luke Skywalker are in a search of the Hand of Thrawn on the planet of Niruan. Is that right? Niruan?
I say Nerowan, but this is Timothy Zahn at his best. So you just go for it, buddy.
Planet of Niruan. We'll go with that. Where they have a whirlwind romance involving caves, tunnels, and little telepathic pterodactyl dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Some lightsaber throwing tutorials, and of course some battle droids. Thinking that they were doomed to perish in a near drowning incident, Luke asked Mara to marry him.
Aww.
Yeah, that scene
What
was
a
straight
perfect
cringe.
time. Yeah.
Absolute cringe. Let's keep it going. The linchpins to undoing this whole fiasco. Number 1, you got to find the MacGuffins. Okay, MacGuffin number 1, the Hand of Thrawn. What is it? We got to find it. Number 2, the Kamas document. There's evidence containing the names of the Bothan conspirators so that the appropriate individuals can be punished and they can set the record straight. There are 2 copies in existence. They think one in the hands of the Imperials and the other belongs to MacGuffin number 3, George Cardos. Yeah, George with a J, y'all. George Cardos. That way you know it's spacey. He's an enigmatic crime lord who used to mentor Talon Card, Lando, Lobbit, as the audiobook narrator says here, instead of Lobot.
Lobbit.
He calls him Lobbit. And the gang, they seek him out in order to secure a copy. Can you imagine a Lobbit riding a Rancor? I need some fan art of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Skooma, yeah, you're on that one. All right. We need Lobbit riding a Rancor. All right.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. We're really southern tonight, aren't we?
We got Lobbit. We got Yoder.
George Cardas.
Yeah, that Star Warsy name of George.
But like, seriously, is this like a really not subtle reference to George Lucas? You know, this mentor. Does Zahn see himself as Talon Card? And and Cardas is George Lucas. You know, like
this is me thinking about this for the first time. I've never
You
thought
should
of it.
make the same face as Han.
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, you're making me make one of these. So we got to finish this summary, or we're never going to get into it.
Sure.
They go to Cardos, but Card has bad blood with Cardos from the past, and he's also kind of terrifying. Even the Hutts are scared of this guy. So, moving on. Wrapping it all up, way more succinctly than our boy Timmy Z, Luke and Mara find all sorts of juicy deets in the Hand of Thrawn facility, an Imperial Chiss outpost for defending the galaxy from threats in the unknown regions, and it's in the shape of a hand. You get it? Hand of Thrawn?
Mm-hmm.
But
the
the
whole
real
like
hand
mountain
of
range.
the real Hand of Thrawn was the friends we made along the way. Am I right? There was actually something else. Anyway, not only that, but they found a lifeless Thrawn clone in a Sparty cylinder. And what do you know? A perfect copy of the Kamas document that R2 accidentally downloaded from the mainframe. They get out of there, newly betrothed, just like Freddie C., and they save the New Republic.
Was the Thrawn clone wasn't it alive though?
I thought it was lifeless. I thought it was dead. Like
I thought it was
cracked,
No. They
cracked
kill
the
it.
tube and drowned it.
Yeah, they totally kill it. But I'm pretty sure it's like growing, because that was like the whole plot point was like 30 years. If I disappear, it's going to automatically start that. Like it'll start that growth sequence.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rick. I flew through the ending.
Yeah. Well, it was very much alive. They killed that clone.
Are you telling me they aborted that Thrawn?
Ooh,
They sure did. They sure did.
That's a
Luke's
tough
got
one.
Luke's got some war crimes to answer for, man.
Yep. I mean, so same with Yoder. You got to look at that guy when he's
All
done.
right, so you're telling me that the two of them strolled up on Baby Thrawn, slamming him naked in his Sparty cylinder, and they're like, "What do you think we should do with it? Probably kill it, right?"
I think it was like an accident or something. Like I forget what happened. Like there was like a battle. No, like the battle droids or some Sentinel droids were there.
Right.
And they ended up like it.
They flooded the facility.
Yeah, it was a casualty of that skirmish. It wasn't like intentional. Like let's jab our saber through it. Like it wasn't like that.
Before
it was intentional.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up, y'all. All right. I'm going to say I really struggled through this reread. More than just about any Legends book I've ever read. I really struggled to get through this. It was very long and...
a lot of politics.
Oh, man, Zahn really took a roundabout way to get there. But the third act...
Yeah.
And by third, I mean like 13th, because this is one long book. Really sealed the deal for me in the end. I'm going to put it as great on the close side to good, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it over the line at great. What about y'all? What's your rating?
Yeah, here's the thing about this book. It is very detailed, right? It is not gonna miss over any possible chance of what a human would actually do in that situation, and Timothy Zahn is gonna write about it in detail, and you're gonna see it in your head, and it's gonna be you're gonna understand it, right? So I love this. I love how long this book is, but oh my goodness, you're in for a read. After you read half of this book, you've already read one normal Star Wars book.
After you've read a fifth of this book.
Yeah. So this is hard because I think it's great. But there's a lot of detail. You have to stick around and you have to be very aware of what's happening. Everything's being interwoven. That's the thing, right? It's very Zahn, Timothy Zahn. This is everything he had wished he had probably in terms of resources for his previous books. This is his almost his. Yeah, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but I love it. It's good. This is a great book. This is definitely on my list of must reads.
So we're both on great but tedious. What about you, Rick?
Yeah.
So this is my first time reading this book in this series, and so I had a very different perspective because all of this was fresh, new, and exciting. And starting Spectre of the Past, like I didn't know if Thrawn was actually back. We talked about at the last roundtable, and so this has been exciting. And so this book, I read through it pretty quickly. Again, I used the audiobook. That's what I have to do. But it went pretty quickly. I really enjoyed the whole thing. And as you guys have mentioned, the thick interconnecting plot points, the politics, but the action. My only criticism, I think, is that the romance between Luke and Mara felt a little rushed or a little forced, which I think that's because I'm missing some of the other stories that they're in. Because I just reread like the Thrawn trilogy or the
Yeah.
Empire trilogy, and then went straight to this. So I felt like
There's
that
not a
was
lot between the two of them, and
there's not
there's
okay.
not. There's
I
not a
thought
lot.
maybe like one or two, but anyway.
Luke has a lot of other girlfriends.
Oh yeah, that and they mentioned that, that comes up. But anyway, so I would say it's somewhere between incredible and masterpiece for me. It's really, really good.
And I was with you on my first read as well. I thought it was right on that seam between absolutely S tier and definitely the top of A tier. This time around, I found it a little more tedious, but I'm a boring, crusty adult. And when I read it 10 years ago, it was fresh. And in fact, my wife read part of this book to me aloud as we were on our way en route to a friend's wedding in Florida. And we started Spectre, and she had finished I Jedi reading those for me, and she's never once picked up a Star Wars book since.
Oh boy.
I blame I Jedi more than this one. I do. But speaking of that relationship between Luke and Mara, let's talk about that. This is, widely regarded as one of the pillars of Luke and Mara's relationship.
Yes.
Obviously, it's a book where they already had a budding romance, but here's where they fall in love. They say, "I love you" for the first time. It's their safe word. And as she's coming out of the coma, like a Jedi coma. That was awkward. What is it that people love about Luke and Mara's relationship?
All right, I got an answer. It's kind of a joke, but also I think kind of serious.
Okay.
After experiencing A New Hope and seeing
I thought you were about
Luke
to say after experiencing love for myself.
or heavyweights. Never mind. I'm not gonna go there. Train of thought's gone.
Yeah. After
okay.
experiencing A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Give yourself the one here. Let's hear you. Monologue it for us, Rick.
So the reason why I think Luke and Mara's relationship is so lovable is because after watching A New Hope and seeing Luke kiss his sister, we're just ready for him to find true romance with any eligible non-family member. That's what I think.
That is going on the gram, Rick. That clip right there, that's the one. Oh, that's after we watch him kiss his sister, we feel so bad for him. We're like, please,
just somebody, anybody, doesn't matter who,
someone he's not related to. How about this? Someone who's not an ancient Jedi who inhabited the body of his student, which is extremely morally dubious. Which is what happened in
it was the 90s. No.
Which is what happened in Children of the Jedi. And I met Barbara Hambly, and she came to Legends Con in full Jedi cosplay.
Awesome.
Which was dope.
That's great.
Absolutely dope. Unfortunately, I didn't get an interview, but she was only there for a day. Freddie, why do people love Luke and Mara? What is it? There's something.
What is it about Luke and Mara? I don't feel like Mara is helpless.
Sure.
Now, she does not have the same force abilities as Luke, and there's definitely a lot of Luke. I think what this book does really well is showing how advanced Luke's powers have become versus the normal Jedi, how far Luke has gone, and almost how effortless it is for him to be that good with the Force. But also seeing someone else's point of view of their force abilities and having just that restriction. And Luke really trying his hardest to do, I think, his best to allow Mara to grow and to really put her to the test without him doing too much, and really trusting in her abilities, right? So you see a lot of things with Luke here. He really cares about her development. He cares about man, he would do anything to make sure that he heals her, of course, puts her in trances, and of course he would almost wish that she would not do any of this dangerous stuff, right? He wants her safe and sound, but he also understands that Mara has to do what Mara has to do, and that's wherever the Force takes her. And
Yeah.
it was awesome to see them work through all of the individual struggles that they had to get through in order to get into this facility, and
Yeah.
see their relationship grow. And of course, that waking quote at the very end. It's so cheesy, but you gotta love it.
Oh yeah.
I did not love it, but I liked a lot about the rest of their relationship. I think you were right that they had to struggle through letting each one be the hero and take risks, and honor that instead of like try to overcompensate for the other one or shelter the other one.
They
I
became
think that-
partners.
yeah,
I think that true partners in this.
right. Yeah, Luke needed a foil. He needed somebody to hold him accountable. Luke's the Grand Master of the Jedi, and
She
she
does
is
that.
not impressed.
Yeah.
Like,
She's
go ahead.
she's way out of his league, and so like I keep picturing Luke as, but I was gonna go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters, like, and then all of a sudden Mara Jade, like, what, engaged? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's some steps missing, but I love Mara Jade as a character, and obviously like where the relationship goes and what I know about that's great, but I wanted a little bit more of actual romance. It's almost like not Stockholm syndrome, but what's it called when like where you have like a near death experience and you fall in love with
Oh.
people you're with. That's
Right.
almost what it feels like. Like,
I think the foundation of their relationship was planted back in the Thrawn trilogy,
yeah,
and the fact that she wanted to kill him,
yeah,
and he applies what he does in Return of the Jedi, which is he would rather redeem you than fight you. And
Mm.
she's like, but well, let's fight. And he's, no, I actually would love to get to know you. That is what works. And of course, the fact that she's cold and emotionless. And
Yeah.
he, as she says at the end, actually kind of explains it, over explains it, why it makes sense at the very end, which is that he always wears his heart on his sleeve for the whole world to see at all
Yeah.
times. So he's
Yeah.
over emotional. She's
true.
under emotional. They
Not
balance
just
each other
that.
out.
But Luke always doubts himself. He's always thinking, am I doing the right thing? Is this
Mm.
right? Should I do this? Should I do that? And Mara just says, just do it.
She's a woman of
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and she makes an absolutely fantastic Jedi mentor in the New Jedi Order
Hmm.
and the Legacy of the Force. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to
Wait.
seeing
Yes.
Can't
yes.
wait.
her character growth. But I think here's my theory, Rick. Timothy Zahn set up an absolute perfect character pairing with Luke and Mara in the Thrawn trilogy. Them fighting through the woods on Mirkor and then on Wayland in The Last Command.
yeah.
It is a perfect character pairing. Then they spend the rest of the 90s pairing Luke with every random woman in the galaxy.
And
He's
ships.
with Callista, which is a debacle. Other ones, I'm sure I'm forgetting someone.
Governor of a planet.
Sure. Now she's actually a quite likable character,
Yes.
but it doesn't work out. Luke gets his heart broken. This time around, it's like Timothy Zahn was saying, okay, I'm going to do what I wanted to do with this. And I've got one book to do it. And he stretched it to 2 books. I do think your criticism is valid, Rick.
Yeah. It probably could have been 3.
Mhm.
Yes. Could have been a trilogy. Hey, guys, idea. Valentine's Day. I've never read the Union comic of Luke and Mara's wedding.
Hmm.
Coming up on Valentine's Day. That could be fun.
All right, let's do it.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, tell your significant others. Sorry, I've got plans on Valentine's Day. I'm reading a Star Wars comic on the podcast.
Nice.
Invite them along.
Oh, hey, they could do this show instead of us.
My wife's wanted to do that as a joke once, like for the cold open, like have all of our others take our spots in the show and just kick us out.
I do not think
Star
in
Trek.
I don't think in a million years my wife would do it.
We can
I don't
replace
think-
her with a puppet or something. That'll be fine.
I don't think there's any amount of money you could pay her.
That's so funny.
No shot, dude. All right. Well, the Luke and Mara plot is heartwarming, though perhaps there's some plot holes here. Another point in the book that I think there might be some plot holes is that of the Imperial's plan. The Imperial usurpers, Disra, Tierce, and Flim.
Flim flam.
Flim flam.
Flim Flam. Their plan It's got some strong points, though. I think
Where's it flawed?
it's got some pretty big flaws. Okay.
Yeah.
One, the thing that makes sense to me: sowing dissent in the New Republic, finding a flashpoint and sparking it, igniting it, burying the evidence so that the New Republic cannot clear up this controversy, pitting their own people against them.
Yes.
However, what doesn't make a ton of sense to me, I'm interested in what you think about this, is the fact that they put an actor in Thrawn makeup and hope that nobody would find out.
That was, in my opinion, that's the weakest part of this whole thing. I think in terms of the political strategy, you had that with Disra, right? You had the military strategy with Tierce, Major Tierce. And of course you had the bogeyman, right? The bogeyman, who is Thrawn. But what are you gonna do over time? What's the long game here? Right? I don't feel like there was a long game, and
Yeah, Disra's kind of mustache twirly.
I mean, aren't we glad it wasn't somehow Thrawn returned? You know, like I'm glad we got a little bit of something, and
it's very strategic, right? A very strategic way to say, hey, because easily he could have brought in another clone right off the bat, made it go. But this is actually a really cool little twist. Yeah, it's very risky.
Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking like I went back and forth because I expected it to be a clone, and so that was, I mean, it's pretty early in the first book that it's revealed, but I was like, huh. At first I was just disappointed, but then throughout the whole story, it is destined to fail, and it did, but I could see the path forward. These are guys who are trying to like rise above their station, trying to get power. It's a power grab, and they have no direct authority, no direct path to that. I mean, Diestra's a Moff, but just barely, and he's already in hot water. And so this is like just an attempt to gain power. And the higher ranking a person becomes, the more privacy and secrecy and less access people have to them. And so I could see a path where it worked if Thrawn had some illness or something, and I don't know, something that kept him even more secluded from other people.
Yeah.
It could work.
One thing is they what an interesting way to go about it, to hire a con man.
Yeah.
But
he did a pretty good job.
He did.
Yeah. Somewhere
bluff.
in the very beginning of the book, I forget who said it, if it was Major Tierce or Disra, but it was almost foreshadowing when they said when there's a trio at the top of a power structure, it's almost destined to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Tell that to the Triune Lord, okay?
That was the fourth MacGuffin, was who's going to turn on whom, right? Who has the power? When Flim Flam tried to usurp Tierce's thing, right? It was just like, hey, don't step in my territory. When Disra, same thing with, Disra felt like, hey, I need control of this situation. This was my idea.
Yeah.
And you could just see like the distrust sowing. So eventually it's just a matter of time until one of those three fails. And of course, I think it would have been Tierce, right? He would have offed the other two.
That is a good point. I hadn't thought about that from the political standpoint, like of real world politics, which Timmy Z loves. He loves it. But Mussolini and Hitler and Stalin. I hadn't thought about that triumvirate.
Everything that Zahn talked about in this book with disruption of government is what you see in real life, right? Disinformation, seeding of hate within small communities to create like a bubbling effect all over.
Yeah, a flashpoint.
Propaganda, right? Good propaganda propaganda from the New Republic versus propaganda from the Imperials, and it's very realistic, right? It's very realistic how they try to frame some folks and try to pin it on other things, and it's
the political thing was a little bit tedious, though I did find it very well crafted.
Yes.
Now, I thought that the one piece of that fell apart for me was this kind of idealistic, almost naive, and maybe it's just because we live in the 2020s now, and this was written in the 90s. The difference of it was clear from the very beginning in this, the truth would set them free. There was this belief that all they needed was the actual evidence. If they could just find the Kamas document, then that would solve all the problems. And I don't think that we've seen that in recent events. Like, just because we find the evidence or the truth, people are like, well, that's not my truth. That's fake news.
Yeah, if you heard, who was it? Chancellor Big Bird. Big Bird said it himself, right? With the, oh, what was it? It was, even if we did find the document, would it matter? Right? At that point, it's just an excuse.
Yeah.
For all the stuff
well
that's
said.
going on. So,
yeah.
Might have lost you for a second.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I think we had a little internet glitch there, but does the plan make sense? There were two twists with that for me really saved that plot. One, Thrawn's an actor. Holy smokes, he actually has a clone. And then you're like, wait a second, what if Thrawn really is still alive? Which you spend the whole duology thinking, oh, this is ridiculous. They've got this con man. And at the end you find out, no, Thrawn actually did have contingency plans.
That's the crazy part. When you get to it, you're like, oh my gosh. Here I was thinking everybody was stupid for thinking it, but it did exist. It
was me.
Would have
I was
been
the
a threat.
Yeah.
Me too. Hi.
Yeah.
I'm with stupid.
I'm with stupid. And Rick's just a bystander laughing at us. The other plot twist that I thought really saved that plot point was Tierce was a clone.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Major Tierce was
really
a clone.
What a twist.
Explain it, Rick. What's the twist? Explain Tierce.
Yeah. So again, going back to the whole power grabbing and trying to get authority, at the very end of the book, pretty much, it becomes apparent that Major Tierce was like an Imperial Guard, right? Somewhere super highly trained special ops kind of role, but he actually is a clone. And so he's got no real experience, no real like rank. He just kind of assumed the life of who he was cloned after, and so he doesn't know who he is. It's a big identity question, and so he's grabbing a power to prove that he is worthy of the identity that he's taken on.
Yeah, he was the mastermind of the operation on the military side of things. So he was able to come up with all the battle strategies, outsmarting the New Republic, outsmarting the other Imperials. And it turns out he was imbued with some of Thrawn's intelligence.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In his DNA. And so he reveals, I've been doing all this strategizing because I have Thrawn brain.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
You don't have Thrawn brain. I have Thrawn brain. And it even came down to that at the end.
Right. It's like you got the Thrawn voice, but I've got the smarts for it. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. There's 3 cloning plots in this book. 1, Thrawn himself had Sparty cylinders. He's cloned himself. But that never came to fruition. It's kind of a red herring, too. Baron Fell. We've not talked about that. There's clones of the best Imperial fighter pilot in the galaxy out there.
Turncoat.
Right. Yeah,
reverse turncoat, I think.
Yeah.
A rebel turn.
He was in Rogue Squadron.
Imperial.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like Imperial turn rebel turn Imperial again. I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I've always struggled with the deal with Baron Fell. I think it's more from the comics than the books, so I need to refresh on the comics. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, all these clones, clones. Thrawn clones makes thrones. Wow.
And then Tierce is the 3rd clone. Those are the 3 cloning plots. And the question is, which of those cloning plots was most interesting to you?
And I was gonna make the Spider-Man meme joke.
Spider-Man meme joke.
You're Thrawn. I'm Thrawn. No.
Yeah. Best clone. I'm the best clone. You're the best clone.
There's a lot of talk of clones in this, for sure.
It's a bunch of colonie.
Well, the working title was Attack of the Clones, with an extra O.
Clones.
The clones.
Clones.
It's interesting, right? Because you've got you've got some clones that are just like, I want peace, right? I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
this Imperial agent or whatever. I want to just farm. I feel like that's what I remember. I feel like that was a month ago when I got to the middle part of the book.
Yeah, that was in season 1.
Yeah. And then you had clones that were what is it? Vengeful, I guess. Vengeful. With no clear purpose other than vengeance,
Yeah.
I would say. And then you had an unknown clone of the most feared person in the world. Like we totally dodged a bullet there. That could have been really bad. Like they were clearly sent there to destroy that clone.
Yep.
So very interesting.
Which of those clone plots was most interesting to you, Rick?
Man, Tierce was the biggest plot twist that I didn't see.
Yes.
I hadn't considered, Jared, what you mentioned about Thrawn. Like, what if there actually is a Thrawn clone that enters the story later? So that kind of got me thinking just tonight. But Tierce was the one that I think was like a whoa moment because I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah, that was big.
Probably should have picked up on it, I guess, but it was good.
Do you think, Rick, you've not read, and Freddie, I think your knowledge of the EU past this point is kind of limited, right?
Yeah, after this point, we get into a lot of the newer stuff that I just had not gotten to.
All right, so let me
Because
ask
they
you
didn't have
this.
nice covers.
I'll ask it as a
Drusen.
blank. They didn't have Drew Struzan covers. I'll ask you with a blank slate. They've hinted here that Thrawn had a cloning contingency plan.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances are? And how would you like to see the plot developed concerning Thrawn's future in the EU, in Legends?
Okay. So for Thrawn, if I were Thrawn, say, so this military's genius, who knows he's a genius, right? So he's definitely full of himself in that point, wants to continue his legacy as far as he can. I would assume that he has more facilities, not just one facility, but also I'm not sure how they've been able to transfer conscious. I don't know how they would go through that, but
wouldn't surprise you, in other words, to see some more Thrawn.
no, Thrawn having just one facility with a clone. See, how many did the Emperor have? He had hundreds of clones. I'm pretty sure Thrawn would have
those slimy bodies were
slimy
they're everywhere.
And I'm sure there is flat surfaced Thrawns, right? With flat parts out there, more than one of them.
Parts.
Smooth parts.
Smooth parts.
That's the word.
I was like, where are you going with this, Freddie? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise you. Okay, Rick, what about you?
Okay, so practically speaking, I know that we don't have too much. Do we have any Zahn after this? Chronologically?
I'm not gonna say.
Okay. Maybe there is. So I feel like practically speaking, it's unlikely. So I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'd at least like to see more Chiss. More Thrawn, maybe, if it's done well. We'll see.
I'll say this much. There is the Imperial Remnant, the Hand of Thrawn contingent out there factors into the upcoming series very heavily.
Okay.
In New Jedi Order and beyond. That group, that contingent group out there, they do come into galactic affairs in a big way.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll
I know they've,
because that's where I don't want to.
It was foreshadowed pretty heavily at the end there that we don't know what's out there. That there's like that was their whole point was we're preparing for conflicts beyond just our petty intergalactic or intergalactic issues.
And one's about to come. They don't even know it yet.
And I felt like he put that there as an asterisk because he had not yet heard from editorial what they were going to do next, other than they knew it was going to be from over there.
Yeah, which is great. That's good. It's all it needs. Teases it out and gives it a purpose and connective tissue. I love it.
It does work out. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. This is one heck of a book. Absolute door stopper of a Legends book. If you've not had the chance to check it out yet, please would encourage you to do so. You can get that link, sweet link. We can get that 4% revenue over there at utini.com. You go over to the site, type in Vision of the Future, Hand of Thrawn, that sort of thing. Click that Amazon link in the profile. Get your own copy, and we get to keep the lights on. But guys, before we wrap it up, any final thoughts on the Hand of Thrawn duology, Spectre of the Past, and Vision of the Future? Favorite part of the book? Something you would like to see more of? Character that deserves a shout out here before we close out the show?
Yeah, I was really intrigued by one of these questions you have here about the real hero of the book. So I'll give a shout out to Pelion, man, because he chooses to do the right thing over the easy thing, which the easy thing would be to go down fighting and swinging and to just go down with the ship kind of thing. But instead, he says, you know what, we're gonna live to fight another day and let the Empire exist, hopefully, and find a truce, find a way forward. And I think that it was a really good strategy and kind of introduces some gray into it's supposed to be a bad guy. And so I like that.
Yeah, Pelion makes a great hero to root for.
Yeah.
Could give a +1 to that too, by the way.
When he shows up and upstages them and he's like, or should I say Flynn? It's
Flim Flam.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get that right.
Flim Flam Flan.
It's fantastic.
Child of Winds is the absolute keystone of this book. Without Child of Winds, nothing would happen with Mara and Luke. They would have died.
Okay. Yeah, I think I liked him better reading the book physically
Yes.
Yeah,
than listening
totally.
to the audiobook.
That's fair.
Because he kind of come across like this in the audiobook.
Okay, bye everybody.
That's a lot to deal with.
I don't even have a name. I'm not a real boy. Okay.
Yeah. Or should I call him Child of Winds or Friend of the Jedi? Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, we need to like one of those Drew Struzan-esque covers with just Child of Winds floating head called Friend of the Jedi. That would be great. I'd love
You've
that.
got a friend in me.
You got to, somebody get on that. I'll give a shout out here before we close it out to George Cardos.
Yes.
Very interesting kind of hinge plot point in the story. I love that. Why are we always trying to go back to Dagobah? Right? I love that we go back to Dagobah here and we find out that Cardos was a part of that and
Yoder.
secretly secretly trained as in the Force by Yoda on Dagobah. That's some legend stuff right there.
And you got to know that George Cardos has a big old cigar. Like I just picture the guy with.
Well, he's got multiple mouths, smoking multiple cigars.
He sounds like the
That's right.
Godfather. Sounds like the Godfather. Right?
Yeah, he really does. He really does.
That's right. Yoda made me an offer I can't refuse. Well, that will do it for this week. Thanks for joining us for Legends Look Back. Thanks to our incredible patrons for your support. Special thank you to Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Carl Sanders, Zach W, Michael Fry, and Raymond Bazinski on our Jedi High Council. James T, Ashley Ingalls, Colton Fife, Chris Carrizo, Sally, and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. Remember to sub to the channel. Leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching on YouTube, hit one of those like buttons. You can hit the bell. You can hit the subscribe. You can hit them all at once. You can try. We'll take whatever you can throw our way. It helps other folks to find the show just like you have. If you want your thoughts right on the show, you can find our contact information in the description. We're also on X at Legends Look Back. You can, of course, if you will, if you can, if you'd like to, we'd like for you to keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you.